Hello, beautiful, and welcome to Masterfully New. This is a channel dedicated to guiding individuals through the awakening journey by helping each one of us integrate our heightened awareness into a masterful life. The work we do to cultivate this inner wellness sends ripples through our world and creates outer wellness and helps us transform the world. If you want world peace, find peace within. So I hope you join me in the powerful effort to become masterfully new. I'm Nicole, your health and wellness coach. This first video is the start of a three-part series on self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is essential to leading a masterful life. It is the fuel for embracing life's challenges. It's what keeps us resilient because no matter what happens, if we accept ourselves just the way we are, then we can weather storms and rise up from the ashes by bringing our completely acceptable selves into new circumstances. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to be capable of learning and growing. So let's start with this exercise to just kind of judge where we're at with self-acceptance. So if you can, put your arms around and give yourself a hug, like a real hug. And if your arms don't move that way, then go ahead and rest your hands on your heart. But I want you to close your eyes and breathe. And now say to yourself, I'm beautiful, just the way I am. Notice how this makes you feel. You might want to instantly turn from this video, but stay with it. Really breathe it in. I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful, just the way I am. And then just be aware of any subtle feelings you have around this very true statement. I'm beautiful, just the way I am. Now let go of any resistance or awkwardness for a moment and relax into it more and really be with it. Soften into this moment and say it again. I'm beautiful, just the way I am. Breathe it in. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So let's reflect on this. How did you feel during this exercise? Did you notice any resistance, awkwardness, any ingenuineness? Did you really believe it or did you not believe it? All these things might come up and you might just have like a tinge of ingenuineness or just not feeling very comfortable with it. So here's a masterful tip. If we feel any resistance to something like this type of exercise, then we should go deeper into it. Because our goal in awakening is to unearth who we truly are. And we need to go into any resistance in order to do that. So maybe you felt some resistance to hugging or loving yourself completely. And if you didn't, that's great. But if you did and you're continuing to watch this video, you may realize that there's a certain resistance to self-acceptance and you want more self-acceptance in your life. So great, you're on the right path to it. The level of self-acceptance you're at is the lens through which you view your entire world. So this is why self-acceptance is so important to lead a masterful life. When we accept ourselves as loving beings, we see the world as loving and the universe as a loving universe. And the opposite is true if we don't accept ourselves. So self-acceptance is paramount to waking up to reality as it truly is. So what blocks us from the level of of acceptance that we want. I see it as there are three main blocks to self-acceptance. One, emotional densities from rejecting ourselves and experiencing traumas. Two, the need for external validation. And three, our relationship with our creator or the universe, the source, whatever you want to call it. In this video, this first of a three-part series, I'm going to talk and really dive into emotional densities. Check out the links below for the other videos to get the full three-part series. So, and also for this video, stick around to the end if you want to see a helpful visual aid to summarize how we release these emotional densities. All right. So let's talk in this video about emotional densities. When we have an emotional experience, we create emotional energy that needs to be released. And this is why we cry. The big mystery is solved. When we're young children, we're so great at quickly releasing emotional energies by crying and even flailing that energy out. But as we age and mature and are told to grow up, our emotional energies can get stuck in our inner world for various reasons. Maybe we couldn't express ourselves and release the energy of the emotions in that moment, and we just didn't get a safe space to do that later in time. Maybe the cause of the emotions was so traumatic that we had to stuff it down because we just knew we weren't mature enough to deal with it. Or maybe we capped off the emotions with irrational logic to sum it up and tuck it away. Like, I guess they don't love me, or I guess I'm not good enough, or any number of self-deprecating stories we tell ourselves because we want to explain our world. But over time, after experiencing traumatic events or a bunch of micro traumas, we accumulate these unresolved emotional densities if we don't release them. Many of us are walking around unconscious of them, of these emotional densities, and generally don't feel good about ourselves. In the back of our mind, we may be constantly identifying with irrational logic we formed somewhere in our past. And I call it irrational because any self-deprecating or disparaging logic is simply not true. You are beautiful just the way you truly are, and there is nothing fundamentally wrong with you. We all get confused and lost in what is untrue, and our purpose in life is to wake up from it. So, we have emotional densities most likely. How do we release these unresolved emotional densities then? Well, we need to stop skirting around them when we see them come up and go into the emotional pain. So often we're like, I can't deal with that now. I'm too busy right now. And we're pushing it aside, pushing it aside. But instead of doing that, we might put a pin in it, find a safe space, and go into it deeper. And this is what Carl Jung calls shadow work. That is confronting and integrating the unconscious repressed parts of one's personality to achieve greater self-awareness and wholeness. We must fearlessly and with curiosity delve into those rejected, forgotten, or even scary feelings that pop up when we are triggered, and we meet them with a more mature, rational, and compassionate mind for the purpose of healing. If you expressed resistance to hugging yourself or appreciating yourself in a way that was just acknowledging you're beautiful just the way you are at the beginning of this video, then that was a shadow revealing itself to you. Often shadows don't just pop right out into our field of awareness begging for release. They arise with life events or triggers. Sometimes we can trigger ourselves by doing something that feels awkward and uncomfortable. And sometimes we have to wait for life to give us a trigger because we don't really know what these emotional densities are in the first place most of the time. As a master of our life, we need to embrace these triggers as opportunities. Go deeper into the resistance and trigger anytime you recognize it. That's where we uncover our shadows. So the masterful tip I want to give you is embrace triggers and go into the shadow that arises with it. So what exactly is the shadow? Well, it's a loose term for meaning darkness. We usually want to run away from darkness and stuff it back down, yet to be masterful in your life, we need to do the opposite. Some people might say a shadow is an aspect of our personality that lies in shadow or our unconscious mind, and that's very psychological, but I don't see it that way. I don't see shadows as part of our personality. I see them as temporary, buried, hidden thoughts and emotions. And in fact, as we awaken, we do start to realize that none of these thoughts and emotions are who we truly are. We can use our heightened awareness to look at our thoughts and our feelings as they arise with more objectivity when we know that this isn't part of my identity. The best thing you can do to start mastering your life then is to acknowledge your hidden thoughts and feelings. Here's another masterful tip. Whenever you notice hidden thoughts and feelings, simply say, I see you. All you have to do is acknowledge a shadow. And when we do that, we bring our attention to it and we can put a pin in it. It may not be a safe place to really delve into that shadow and let it express and release, but when we say, I see you, we're putting a pin in it so that we can get to it later. That way it doesn't scurry off like Peter Pan's shadow. We can go back to it when we're ready and examine it. Or a lot of times we can just let it go. Oftentimes acknowledging our bits of darkness is all it takes to bring in the light. But if we are feeling like we don't have that level of self-acceptance and we need to go deeper into it, we can certainly engage in our darker shadows. How do we start this deeper shadow work? Well, we need to set an intention that we're open to listening and acknowledging whatever shadows, whatever emotions, whatever thought patterns want to arise in our life. Yes, this means for the next several years, you are going to have emotional breakdowns and journey through the dark night of the soul. But what we do is we purposely find our triggers, put a pin in them, find a safe place to express and release them. And I highly recommend support, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But getting back to the intention, with this intention, we're allowing our higher self to direct the how our shadows and emotional densities that are within those shadows will arise so that we can release them. Your higher self knows you better than you do. It's not going to give you more than you can handle, but will challenge you. Perhaps you'll be blessed with someone in your life that constantly triggers you. Or maybe something will remind you that you flash back to and that memory triggers you. There's a whole host of ways that shadows can arise. And like I said, you can kind of you can dig deeper, journal, go through journal prompts, or even sort of create your own moments of awkwardness. Throw yourself into something where you know it's going to be challenging for you. Have a strategy for how you will work through your emotional densities using the techniques that allow expression and release. So therapy is a great place for that. We have to find a safe place to express emotions so that we can let them go and release the energy around them. Purposefully releasing those emotions, thoughts, and feelings is just as important as expressing them. So we don't want to dwell in expression of these dark emotions too long. We want to at some point intentionally let go of them. Otherwise, we'll just get lost in expression of darkness. And we want to be very intentional. We also need to have the intention to just turn the page on our expression, release that negative energy, and reframe the past experience or the thoughts and emotions around it of shame and guilt or whatever dark emotions you're having into a positive light. That really makes it a lot more healthy, and it lets you see, wow, I could see this in a really dark way, or I really could see this in a way that is more positive. We also need to go into our shadows with 3 very important ingredients to this process, and that's compassion, forgiveness, and non-judgmentalism. I realize this can be complicated though. We're going into the very shadows that make self-acceptance hard, and yet we can't deal with our shadows without the self-forgiveness, the self-compassion, and non-judgmentalism that we need. But this is one of life's great challenges. And learning to practice self-compassion is key to mastering life. So here's another masterful tip. You are innately compassionate. Treat yourself as you would treat a toddler that had wandered off and got lost. Bring yourself back with that care and attention and without anger. Whatever shadows come up for you when something triggers you, give yourself the grace of taking a few moments to acknowledge it and willingly accept your feelings around it with non-judgmental compassion. Then earmark it, put a pin in it. If you don't have a safe space to immediately delve into that shadow, revealing hidden feelings and thoughts, make sure you make time for it soon afterwards. When you're ready to take that pen out, open up your journal or talk to your therapist or talk to a friend about it. If you want to go really dark, you're probably not going to want to talk to a friend. I would highly suggest a journal so that you can freely write without any additional shame or guilt and let those feelings just come out. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. But plan to have a safe space to release emotions. You can't really journal in front of your kids or husband. You need to tell them, hey, I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to go, soak in a tub. I'm going to go for a walk, whatever. And let that be your safe space to really work through some dark emotions. So I want to give you some techniques for expressing and releasing these emotional densities. But first, I want to talk about another essential ingredient to shadow work, and that's forgiveness. It's another complexity. We're delving into the shadows that block us from forgiving our past and the people in our past. But we can't dispel those shadows without forgiveness. No one wants to go into their shadows of shame and guilt just to inflict more shame and guilt on yourself or even other people that may have done you wrong. If you're not ready for forgiving, I recommend you don't go into that darkness. Set it aside and until you are ready. But you should understand what is forgiveness exactly. When we forgive, we're not painting it with cherry rainbow colors and saying that it's okay or even justified, because what occurred can still be completely wrong. And that's okay for it to still be completely wrong. We can actually still forgive it by stopping our resistance to it. What we do when we forgive our past or other people is we accept that the event happened and we have to be willing to move on from it. So we accept that it happened and we let it go and no longer let it be a part of us. And that's the masterful tip. Forgiveness is not an excusing of the harm done, but a willingness to let go of the past and meet the present with openness and compassion. Compassion, forgiveness, being mostly non-judgmental, all go hand in hand, really. When you go into self-reflection, try not to judge or censor so much. All you need to do is acknowledge that this is how you feel about what occurred, soften around it, and know that it's okay to feel this way, whatever you're feeling. Journal it out without censorship and burn the pages if you are scared anyone's going to read it. In fact, burning those pages is a great release. So express your feelings freely without condemnation, and this will help you release the emotional density. As I said earlier, some shadows can be dispelled simply by acknowledging them and letting them go, but others may be around like a darker density or a thicker density, and you really need to dive into them after you've acknowledged that there's something there. So plan to dialogue with it. Dialoguing with that emotion, that thought, that sort of weird awkwardness or resistance that you felt, is a really powerful way to release whatever it's revealing, as long as you stay the compassionate observer of you. So my two favorite techniques for doing this work, this shadow work, is one, what I call journaling the beast and the beauty, and two, body dialoguing. Let's start with number one, journaling the beast and the beauty. And this technique is modified from what I learned from Alex Shaler, who is an awakening coach. You can learn more about Alex at www.alexshaler.com, Awakened and Embodied. And I'm putting the link below for that because I did work with him in the past. So when you want to work with the shadow, those hidden thoughts and feelings around a particular emotional density, journaling on it will allow it to express. And start by asking yourself, why did I feel so X when Y happened? Why did I feel so X when Y happened? Or why do I feel so X when I think about Y? Why do I feel so X when I think about Y? These will help you start asking the first why question you need to dialogue. Why did I feel so dejected when I didn't win the lottery on my birthday? Why did I get so angry when my boss spoke to me in a demeaning tone? Little things like that are you capitalizing on triggers in your life by doing that type of reflection. By writing all your feelings and thoughts about it down, we let our shadows reveal itself in its full beastly glory. Let all those hidden thoughts and feelings come up from hiding by giving them the free space to arise. Write in free form, in a stream of consciousness without censorship or stopping to edit or rewrite anything. Just keep doing it for a minimum of 3 pages and stop when you feel you're done or tired of it. But don't keep going for too long. If you're going on for a long time, like 15 pages or more, you need to stop and turn the page to seeing it from a positive perspective. In my experience, there's no end to darkness. That is a well that is bottomless. It will just keep getting darker and darker until you intentionally stop and turn around and pull yourself out of it. Why do I need to write all that ugliness out? Well, as Julia Cameron says in a great book called The Artist's Way, to get to the other side. That other side of all that fear, anxiety, hate, negativity, that angry, whiny, petty stuff is what clouds our brain and stands in the way between you and your creativity. It stands between you and who you truly are. And remember, you're not your thoughts and emotions. They're transient expressions that flow through you. You are the inscrutable one who observes them. Now, once you've journaled the beast and tired it out a bit, journal the beauty. Turn to a fresh, clean page and ask yourself, now what would my higher or my best self say to me in this moment? This is a call to your higher wisdom. Start writing again in a non-judgmental, free-form stream of consciousness. Pretend you're an angel that just dropped in to give yourself the most loving, the most compassionate response you can imagine. Imagine seeing the beast's thoughts and feelings from a whole new perspective, and purposely write in this way. Try to write for the same amount of time or longer, because we're trying to show the beast that it can be seen from the beauty's perspective. Then close the journal and end the session and just walk away from it and let it sink in. You're done. You don't have to revisit it. You never have to reread that ever. In fact, you can go burn the pages if you want. You can just let it go. You may get some great insights while you do this type of journaling, or you may not. Actually, you don't even need to have great insightful wisdom to bring forth the full release. The release is you walking away after acknowledging and expressing it and just knowing it could be easily reframed if you chose to see it that way. If you did get some fantastic insights, then great. If this technique seems like it's a lot of work for you and you don't have time to write pages and pages out of the beast and then the beauty, try this other technique to express and release through body dialoguing. This is a technique we learned in health coaching that is just as powerful for releasing shadows around an emotional density as it is for pain in the body, because the two are intimately related. But that's another topic that I'll save for another video. So how do we do body dialoguing to release a shadow? Let's do this exercise because you really have to experience it to understand its value. Superficially, it can seem childish, but trust me, when you do it, you'll actually realize how powerful it is if you embrace it. So, spend a moment and think of the last time you can recall being upset. Take a minute. Pause the video if you need more time. Give yourself a real example. Now visualize yourself back in that moment when you were upset. Really put yourself into the situation. Close your eyes and just listen. See yourself, feel yourself, understand what was happening around you. Feel the emotions of it now. Notice Where do you feel those emotions? Now ask yourself, where do I feel these emotions in my body? Can you find a space that feels tight or icky? And then focus on that part of your body. Ask this body part that feels tight and icky about those emotions. Why do you feel tight or icky? And listen. What is your body telling you? Imagine this part of your body has a voice of its own, and you are compassionately listening with curiosity about whatever it has to say. Then we want to get to the root of this pain. We want to ask it more why questions. So you start with, why do you feel tight or icky? And listen. Next, you want to ask, why do you feel like that? And listen. And continue and ask yourself 3 more specific why questions. When you can ask 5 whys, you can get to the root cause. Pause the video if you need more time. Now tell your body part, it's okay to feel this way. It's totally okay. Ask your body part if it's ready to let go of what you discovered as the root cause of what it's feeling. If it says no, pause the video and give yourself more time and go back to asking it some more whys. If it says yes, or even maybe, or I think so, I don't know, then imagine the energy that's vibrating in that body part as it was expressing itself. Concentrate on that energy. Imagine all the loose energy around it concentrating into a mass in that body part. Then imagine this mass rising up out of your body from wherever it occurs, coming up to the very top of your head to be released. Imagine it just going out into the ether and the universe, far, far away from you and no longer a part of you. You can even imagine whisking through the remains of it with an imaginary brush. Or if it feels good to you, you can use your hands as if you're pulling it away and out into the universe, no longer a part of you. So that's the exercise. But here's the key. Before you stop, ask your body part again, how do you feel now? And if your body part feels like it was only partially successful, then go back and don't abandon the process. Go back into the body part and say, well, what are you feeling now? And get to the root cause of it with more pinpointed why questions. Again, we don't want to go too deep into this, so 1 to 3 times is really all you should do before you whisk it away, get up, and walk away. All of this can be done very quickly within 5 minutes of internal dialogue because it doesn't take all the time of writing things out. You can very quickly go back and forth. So, there are also other techniques for awakening to your emotional densities, like awareness meditation to observe your inner thoughts, or yoga for physical expression and release. But I think of those 2 practices, meditation and yoga, as more supportive practices rather than these very specific targeted techniques for shadow work. Ideally, you could nurture your journey through the shadow and your journey to release all of these emotional densities that are preventing you from full self-acceptance by doing many of these different techniques. Just do them all and let them all go. Whatever combination of techniques work for you, all of these techniques share the common approach of spending time with your inner world to acknowledge, express, and release. Listen to yourself as a compassionate witness Honor all the bits and pieces of your expression with unwavering, non-judgmental love. As we move through the shadow work of embracing our triggers, resistances, darkness within, we allow ourselves to unfold into our true self and authentic expression. We can release each emotional density from the shame and guilt that we hid them with by compassionately and actively listening to our inner experience. I can tell you from my experience that it can take many years to really work through your emotional density. It did for me. It probably took me about a decade, really, because you don't know when these emotions, these triggers are going to come up. There's many times that I felt, hey, I'm in a great place now. I'm never going to be triggered again. And yet here I am, getting triggered again and working through that experience. What I actually really needed was life to challenge me, and I strongly urge anyone going through this process to find the right therapist, teacher, or spiritual friend to help guide them, because there can be some dark spaces or it can be a lot of emotions all at once. And with what's going on in our chaotic world right now, it's a tough time to be doing this kind of work without the support you need from friends and family and good psychotherapy. Moving through these techniques without the support takes a really rare individual with the emotional maturity and mental stability to handle it. But for most of us, the dark night of the soul is very dark, and it lasts far longer than you think. Yet it's the greatest quest in the universe. And to the timeless soul, the journey is but a dark night. There was a time when I said I wouldn't wish awakening on my worst enemy, but that time has passed now. And today I say there's no greater love on the other side. It's worth it, and you're worth it. So engage with your shadow and do this masterful work. Start today. If you think you've already done it, but you're still getting triggered, then start again anew. Start welcoming triggers and life's challenges that show you your triggers that you didn't think were there. They will arise in perfect timing of when you are ready to release them, because your world is directed by your higher self, or what Jesus would call the Holy Spirit. Don't be afraid. It will only give you what you can handle, not more, but it will challenge you more than you think. Honestly, your primary mission is to do this work. You have come to the earth plane to do this shadow work more than anything else. You came here to be triggered and challenged. You came here to level up through each challenge. And if you seek, you will find the tools, the teachers, and techniques. You will find the inner resilience you need to overcome every one of them. It's important to know you don't have to reach any particular end to receive the benefit of the work. Each shadow we reveal, each emotional density we release makes us a little bit freer. Even knowing that are empowered and capable of working through our shadows and releasing ourselves from our hangups in emotional densities is coming closer and closer to full self-acceptance. We've already accepted and embraced our darkness by going into the shadow, and we have the torch and the techniques to move through it. Each step brings you to greater self-acceptance and forgiveness of your past.
So let's recap. As we move through life, our strong thoughts and emotions are energy, actually, and they need to be expressed and released. But if we repress them or express them but still hold on to them like part of our identity, the energy of them stays with us unconsciously. And it can sort of solidify into an emotional density that gets surrounded by hidden thoughts and emotions or shadows. Now, we can move through an easy life or an unconscious life, never acknowledging what's going on in our unconscious realm. And our hidden thoughts and emotions will still very subtly be communicating with our conscious mind. Our hidden thoughts and emotions can influence our beliefs and how they can influence how we react to our world. Or we can move through life's challenges and allow triggers to unearth our hidden thoughts and emotions. And then when we see this happening, and it does take an awareness and a consciousness to really watch this process, then we can acknowledge these shadows as they rise out of our unconscious mind into the light of consciousness. Once we acknowledge something is really upsetting us, and we can see this sort of dark hidden thoughts and emotions that we didn't think were there, we can put a pin in it, and just by acknowledging it and saying, I see you. And then we can find a safe space to express and release and go deeper into why we felt so triggered, why we were so upset. When we express and release these shadows, they cause the emotional density to dissipate. It may even take more than just a single instant. You may need to be triggered for the same emotional density several times over, purposefully expressing and releasing it until that emotional density is completely dissipated. When we work through this process consciously, what we are doing is we're freeing ourselves to lead a conscious life. We are responding rather than reacting to life's challenges. We free ourselves to unfold into the authentic and personally responsible person that we really want to be. And all along the way, we're embracing this process with compassion and self acceptance. Because the moment we allow our shadows to come to conscious light for acknowledgement, we're embracing this darkness and we're accepting this part of ourselves.
In my next video, I'll talk about the second block to self-acceptance, our need for external validation. So if you like this deep and meaningful content, please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new videos. I plan to bring healing messages and masterful techniques into each video on a regular basis. And I'm also a trained health and meditation coach, and I help people deep dive into their personal well-being so that we can bring forth a life that prospers in abundance, joy, and wellness. A link to my website, Health Coaching with Nicole, is in the description below. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. And may you be free from suffering.